Hey, I just put together my e-bike and I wanted to explain a couple of things about it. First of all, what is an e-bike? It's a standard bicycle that's modified to have an electric motor, and that can either assist you in pedaling or it can carry you completely. There's a lot of torque with an electric motor, so there's a quick acceleration. The components you're going to buy are going to be a motor that's mounted on the rim, and then you just attach that to your bike. It can be either on the front wheel or on the rear wheel. If it's on the rear wheel, you'll have to change out the gears. If it's on the front, you just kind of swap out the tire. Um, why is that? First of all, it's a fun way to get around. You're zipping around on the little thing. It goes maybe 20, 25 miles an hour for a 36 volt. There's different voltages that you can buy. So 36 volts kind of a base tier, and then you can go up to a 48, and that'll get you faster speed. But you also have a faster power draw. So the amperage hours is what you're going to have to look out for the capacity of the battery. But you'll have the motor that pulls the bike, the battery that stores power that you charge, and then included, if you buy a kit, there'll be a controller that'll be kind of a microcontroller with the wires that you're able to control the motor with. So for why, you can just charge the battery and then you drive around, saves you money on gas. It's an easy and quick way to get around and short distances around town. How do you do it? Well, the way that I did it was to go online. There's different websites. I went to Amazon, I went to eBay. The cheapest I found was on Amazon.com from a company called eBikeling, and they have different tire sizes for the size tire that you have on your bike. Um, the one I have is a 700C. That's a standard road bike tire size. They have a 26-inch. They have fat tire, whatever your bike is. You just want to look and make sure that you're using the right tire size. So the tire or the rim will probably have the size listed on it, and just make sure you're using the right one for your bike. And then you can take the wheel off. I chose a front wheel. You can take the wheel off and then apply it. And I'll actually point down here and look at my bike. So you'll see that the tire, there's a motor right here. This is the motor. Disc brakes recommended, so you have more effective stopping power because you're going to be going pretty quickly. Shocks are actually recommended. I don't have any on here, but that would help. Whenever you're going more quickly and you're hitting bumps, you feel it a lot more. So whenever you take your tire off, you might need to do some adjustment to these bars here so that the wheel will actually fit in. So you might have to drill out this little bit down here, but once you get this in, you can just adjust the washers on the inside here to make sure that you're not pinching in or pulling out these two bars in the front of the bike, and then you have these sort of stabilizer pieces that give a little bit more reinforcement so you don't cause anything to break. And then you'll have wires that come up from the motor. I drew mine along this bar, zip tied to the top, and then you can see there's the controller and the battery down here. I can flip this around and get a better view. So the controller, I just have this temporarily clipped in on the drink holder here, but you can buy a bag that'll be waterproof and velcroed onto here. But then you can zip tie all of the wires so they come down here. The other primary wires for the controller are going to be for your throttle. So I chose the twist throttle here. So you have the wire that comes up and is connected there. And then you'll have this control panel here where you can set the speed that you want to go at and turn it on and off. You can see that lighting up there a little bit, and then you can choose the mode that you want for different speeds with that panel. So in order to get these on and off, you'll have to take off any handles you have, any rubber handles here. They just pull off.
You can use a spray bottle of water, so you can get these on and off a little bit easier whenever you're trying to push these on, but you'll have to take these off entirely before you can put on this throttle piece or this little control panel. Just make sure that whenever you put these back on, you have a good angle for your hands, for your brakes, for your shifters, and so that your shifters are still able to shift appropriately. They don't bump into any of these new pieces that you put on, because that can be kind of bad if you're stuck in a gear and you can't downshift whenever you're cruising around if you need to actually pedal. And then just making sure that you have no spare wires sticking out. Another problem I had was the battery. You'll have to find a battery separately. The batteries don't come with the motors whenever you buy a lot of these kits, but in order to find the cheapest one, you're going to want to buy a separate battery. I got mine on eBay. It is a 10 amp hour, so I ride around for maybe an hour or two, and there's still some juice in it, but you probably can't push it much more. But whenever you do that, the adapter that comes on it might not be the exact same. Mine's taped off here, so you can't see it as well, but you might need to order a separate adapter. So I had what's called like a T-style on the battery, but the controller did not have that same T-style. It had sort of two nodes that it plugged into. So you can just go on eBay for like $2 or $3. Make sure you're using the right adapters that plug into each other. Whenever you first plug this in, especially if there's charge in the battery, you might see a little spark on this. You probably want to plug this in before you're charging up the battery, so you can avoid that because it could damage the connector pins. But it's normal, and it really isn't a huge deal, unless it starts to smoke or something abnormal like that. But then, yeah, there's some other sensors and adapters that come to the pedals here. You have to take out the pedals, and then you can put it down in there, or for the brakes, so that you can have separate brake handles. For me, I chose not to put those on because if I'm pedaling, I don't need to have the thing tell me when to use the throttle or not. I can just use the throttle as I need to. And for the brakes, it's difficult to hit the brakes while hitting the throttle. You have to be pretty intentional if you're doing both of those things. So don't just, like in a car, you wouldn't hit the brakes while you're hitting the gas. You just do one or the other. And that saves you so much time. You don't have to screw around with putting on all these other sensors and things. And that's pretty much it. Just make sure that whenever you're putting on the motor here, that the order of these washers and spacers is good, and that you might need to take this wire, you might need to slide these off of this wire, but this little rubber piece just sort of slides off and everything slides down here. So there's videos for tutorials and a manual available on their website. The whole thing in terms of price goes for, I think it was maybe $250, $300 for the battery and the controller, but the 700C was more expensive than like a 26-inch front wheel drive motor, for example. The bike I got on Craigslist for $100, so much cheaper than a scooter, much cheaper than buying a pre-made e-bike that someone would go for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. You don't need to spend that much. The whole setup's going to cost you $300, $400 at the very most, but probably less than that. And yeah, like I said, 20, 25 miles an hour, easy way to get around town. So cool. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.